Camera, is it that one?
That's the camera. Hello.
Yes.
Hey. Welcome to Fishburners Live. My hair will disappear after this. Welcome to Fishburners Live. It is Friday night. Obviously, I'm blocking James, but you will hear more from James soon. It's Friday night. It's WEB3 Pitch Night here at Fishburner. You can hear the noise. There are most likely how many people?
200.
200 people in the room earlier, but
Yeah.
now it's about maybe 150, 120 people out there making noise, so that's why it's so noisy. But anyway, we have the winner of tonight's pitch, proudly supported by NSXA, and we have James, a Fishburner alumni, talking to Nilan from Bounty.
Yeah, Bounty.
Very good. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, man. Thank you. Nice, mate. I just wanted to talk a bit about the pitch tonight. Run us through it again.
Yeah, so Bounty is a
Speak into the mic.
So Bounty is a crowd testing platform for video games. So we basically help video games build their communities through like bounties, which are basically incentivized rewards for people to come test out their video games. And in this, with Web3, we can do this through tokens and NFTs. So, and then that helps build their community and builds greater word of mouth, and then helps increase the lifetime value of the customer, and then reduce the game's customer acquisition cost as well.
Right. So, what made you think video games need decentralized testing?
Yeah, so I've been in video games for 20 years, essentially. So
Is that personal experience?
Yeah, so I built Flash games and websites when I was 8, and then was in esports during my uni days. I covered Counter-Strike, League of Legends, Dota. It was predominantly League of Legends. So I broke a lot of video game news and regarding that. So and then I've been in crypto since 2016.
Wow, you've seen a lot.
Yeah, so I know how play-to-earn games actually work in terms of how play-to-earn games and how token economics can really power community adaptation through the incentive mechanisms. So basically, those two mergings, it's basically the mergings of two of my most passionate interests, right?
Yeah.
And so winning the Global Immutable Hackathon was pretty good.
That's an amazing achievement. You should be very proud.
Yeah.
So, have any games come out recently where you've thought they would have benefited from our product?
Yeah, Cyberpunk.
Yeah, Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
So all the reports about Cyberpunk and their QA process, what do you think of that?
I think they were under pressure a lot of the time, and a lot of stuff just got slipped through the cracks. But CD Projekt Red is a great company.
Amazing developer, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it had anything to do with that developer going public? Because they went public between releasing Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk. Do you think that put any additional pressure on the company?
I think it's more to the fact that Cyberpunk is very different to what they traditionally did, because they've got deep experience in Witcher 3 and the mechanics and stuff. And Cyberpunk was an experiment on something else, right? So, this is a normal situation with a lot of video game developers. If you stick to your core, you generally put out really good products. But when they want to diverge, they don't have the innate talent and the innate expertise to go through every single checklist, and hiring all of that is a pain in the butt. And
that
all
makes
of
sense.
That. And so, helping communities contribute to your development, especially if you're a studio that's not well versed in a specific genre, would be really amazing.
Yeah, that makes sense. And do you think Bounty would help that process? Do you think if a company like CD Projekt Red, how amazing that would be, right? Yeah. If they were trying to enter a new genre of game, if they were to use Bounty, it would have been a better product, do you think?
Yeah, I think eventually it would be a better product. I think you can't replace QA testing properly as a tool, because that's a very strong skill set that's required. But you can basically help enhance the QA testing process and enhance the feedback mechanisms, so you get more diversity and variety of opinions before you go into the new genre you're launching into.
Okay. And so run me through it. So let's call it Cyberpunk, right?
Yeah.
So Cyberpunk puts out a bounty for, what do they want? Like 1,000 testers?
Yeah.
Right? And then people sign up to bounty to become a tester, is that right?
Yeah.
And then a bounty tester, they earn, what's the token called?
Yeah, so it will be the game's token itself. So
also a token per project.
Yeah, so the games reward with their own token, because that builds incentive for their games to actually, like, if you hold a game's token, you're more likely to spread the word of the game, because it's just innate human characteristics.
Right, you want the value to go up, etc. You want to spread the word.
Yeah,
okay. So call it Cybercoin, right? So I'm earning Cybercoin by testing Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Therefore, I am incentivized to spread the word about Cyberpunk. Does that not perpetuate the issue? If the product is bad, I can hide that for my personal gain?
Yeah, but it's public. All the bounties are public, and all of this are public. So, yeah, I guess technically it would have that kind of problem. But this is all transparent, and it's all on the blockchain. It's all public, so everyone can view it. But yes, testers sometimes may be incentivized to not spread bad things about it, right? That is a conflict of interest,
right?
Definitely. But that's something we would have to mitigate as a video game developer, and as a player. You have to be informed that these testers do have a conflict of interest, because it's just a natural part of the.
No, that makes sense. So if Cyberpunk comes onto Bounty, and they say, "Hey, we'd like 1,000 testers." What's the next step? Do they then say, "Oh, we'll bring 10,000 Cybercoin"?
Yeah. So they post a bounty, and then a reward pool of how much, coin, tokens or money or whatever, and then they get the certain amount of testers, and then they can reward based on the quality of feedback. So the best quality testers will get a certain distribution more than the lowest quality. So you are more incentivized to test better and test more thoroughly. And Cyberpunk will determine what the best testers are, because based on their needs, right?
Right. And then it's Cyberpunk putting up the liquidity behind that token. As a way of sort of paying for the QA that they normally would off blockchain, right? Okay. And then, so do you sort of see the lifespan of that token that has been minted as starts and ends with the bounty?
No. It's continuous throughout the game, because it's the game's token.
So it's an in-game token.
It's an actual in-game token. If you're doing it on blockchain, if you're doing it with cash, it's just cash, right? So we cater to both Web2 and Web3. So with Web2 games, it will just be cash, right? For the most part. But with Web3 is where it gets really interesting, because if you do with the token itself, then you get basically an added incentive to actually play the game.
I see.
Yeah.
So are you familiar with Sandbox?
A little bit.
Little bit?
Yeah.
So Sandbox has the Sand token, right, which is freely traded on a couple of exchanges.
Yes.
But for the purposes of this, you could earn Sand by testing, and then when the game finally launches, you have a leg up because you have some Sand. I see. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so so the idea sounds amazing. I am a huge fan of it. I play video games myself. I've played many releases that were promised, huge things and delivered nothing. And hopefully your business, tries to, minimize that problem. So with an idea as sound as what this sounds like, why are you raising money? Are you here to raise money, or?
No, we're not raising money at the moment.
Yeah.
Right. So this was to get our idea into the market and basically test how people are receptive to it. And I don't know, honestly expect to win. So that was a good. So we're not raising money right here. We're actually developing alongside the video game studios. So we've got 15 game developers that are interested. So we're just building the product around there. And then once we get enough, product market fit, then we'll raise money to rapidly scale it into USA, India, South Korea, all of those markets.
Where do you see most of the Web3 game development coming from?
US mainly for Web3 game development, because the US has most money and most experimental VCs and all of that kind of stuff to play with. But the game testers can come from anywhere, right? So game testers can come from India, from Philippines, from Brazil. So it's a global market, and like US will be the predominant developer base, but there'll be developer bases everywhere, right? So
that's very interesting. Yeah, you can. Maybe it's time for a word from our sponsor.
Sorry. So, link for Bounty in the description below, and let's roll our sponsor message.
Hello, welcome back to Fishburners Live. I'm here with Arturo.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about yourself, mate.
Well, I run a venture studio called Not Centralized, and we focus on Web3. And one of our community engagements there is the Australian DeFi Association, which we started back in December, which was really interesting because we kind of getting into it, and we thought, well, we have to learn about it properly, right? So what better way of learning than doing it as a community, right? And set up a Discord, started inviting people. A few months later, I mean, it's like 6 months later, it's 800 people. It just shows you how people are really interested in learning about this stuff, right?
What's your typical member? What are they into? Where are they from?
Well, I think because we're Sydney-based, most of them were Sydney-based as well.
So would you say majority of them from Sydney?
Not now. Maybe still it's Sydney, but we're branching out to a chapter in Queensland, in Western Australia, and also in Melbourne. So it's growing.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's growing.
So you'd say you might have 500 Sydney-siders? 500 of the 800?
I think we should do a poll.
Yeah, we should do a poll. We should do a poll. Because, I bet a lot of Sydney-siders out there are into DeFi, into Web3, and they're feeling a bit, on their own, or like this is the dark depths of the web still, like Web3 does still have that reputation.
Yeah, it does. I think that one of the really good comments that we had on the Discord was that it felt for some members it feels like a day-to-day conversation that you'll have with a bunch of friends, and the reason for that is because still today, if you're into Web3, you're kind of the weird one, right? And
don't we know that feeling?
Right, so I'll start talking to my friends, and they're like, "Yeah, well, what are you doing these days?"
And you sort of go, "Oh, do you want to know?"
Don't ask me exactly, because if I do start, I won't shut up. And with these guys, you don't need to shut up, right?
Yeah.
Because they want to hear more, right? And it's this, self-perpetuating kind of thing, right?
Maybe one day we'll be filled with more grey hair.
Yeah.
And we'll say, when we first were talking to people, nobody wanted to hear about it,
Yes.
and here we are, and everyone's on Web3. Do you see a future like that?
Yeah, I do. Totally. I think that, I was talking to a friend of mine about this and kind of seeing the differences between let's call it the transition from no Web to Web 1.2, right? And now that transition between Web 2 to Web 3. And you had a bit of a subculture in that first transition because you had the super nerd, the maybe even a bit of conspiracy theory behind, will this thing kick off and it'll change the world and so forth, right? But
talking mid-90s, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now, that subculture, I believe, is not as big as the subculture that Web3 is creating.
Well, that's an interesting comment.
Right?
That's an interesting comment.
Because we are a subculture.
Yeah.
We're still against the, status quo
Web
in a way,
2s.
right? And look at this room, like it's a massive room with a lot of people.
Yeah.
This is part of the subculture, right?
Yeah.
And you would not have seen a room this big in the subculture back in the 90s, right?
No way. No way.
So
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think that the reason it's a subculture is because, well, first of all, you have the internet, so that the message spreads like a wildfire, right? Now, the second thing is that the disruption was basically in the way that people communicated back then. The disruption and that way of communication did not go against many of effectively a lot of the regulation. Right, there wasn't really regulation around you should communicate this in this way and this is the way you should do stuff and so forth, right? Right now, we're effectively, I was going to say fighting because that's what's in my head, but we're moving from a status quo that effectively controls the way in which you value something and how that transaction occurs, that transfer of value occurs. Mm-hmm. Which is fundamental to society from the very, very depths or beginning of how we started to do things. If you think of it this way, regulation is supposed to tell you how you assign value to something that is very tradable. Mm-hmm. And they can control that value by controlling the way in which it's transferred across society.
Yep.
That
by a mutually agreed value.
Correct.
Right? So we all see value in the whatever means of exchange that we're talking about, right? Yeah. Be it like way back in the day of a bartering system, right? And then we evolved into cash, and then here we are today in multiple versions of cash.
Yep.
Right? So at the end of the day, it is a mutually agreed upon value placed upon an asset, which we'll exchange for either an asset or a service.
Yeah, absolutely. And
right?
there are so many consequences to that, right? And we can, for example, talk about DAOs. Right?
Yeah. Wow. Let's. Yeah, DAOs. Hang on. Wait.
Are we there yet?
Yeah.
I opened the door, so I'm gonna go through that door. So
governance of a DAO.
Yeah. So we actually submitted two responses to the consultation paper that the Treasury had.
Wow.
In terms of how we do things, right? One of them was the nice one, which was kind of crowdsourced across the community, and then the second one was the dickhead one, which was me. And I thought, no, this is not it. I want to say something that's different.
Yeah.
And one of my points there is basically that you don't try to fix an electric vehicle with tools for a gas vehicle. Right. So applying the same line of thought in terms of how you regulate things to a completely new system just stifles the innovation of that system. Mm-hmm. And we would probably not be having the conversation over is a token a financial asset or not as a blank comment if we would have seen tokens being used for utility across the community instead of just a speculative asset, right?
I see.
So gold, for example, is not regulated. but a derivative on gold is. And the question is why not? Because people still can lose their houses by taking the wrong bet on gold, right?
Yeah.
So
sorry, I was just going to say, so DAOs.
Yes. Good.
DAOs have a storied history already.
Yeah.
Right? DAOs, what would you say? I'm sorry, I don't have the exact date, but DAOs, in my mind, aren't very old. We're talking maybe 24 months, right? In my mind, two major DAOs recently stand out, and that is the Ross Ulbricht DAO. You familiar with that?
I'm not.
Ross Ulbricht, the founder of Silk Road, was put in jail and, in the view of a lot of people, unfairly sentenced, right? So Ross, from jail, released an NFT collection, and the DAO was raising money to buy the NFT collection, and then would fractionalize the ownership of those NFTs. So the token they issued, which was called Ross Token, represented a share in the NFT collection. Right? That is one example of a DAO. Which I would argue is a functioning DAO. It doesn't matter about the value of the token, because the ultimately democratic function of the DAO is working. Because people have bought part of something they believe in, and the proceeds of that are helping achieve a cause that they believe in, right? The reverse of that is the Solend DAO. You familiar with what happened with Solana recently?
Yes.
For the benefit of anybody watching, right? So Solend is a lending platform on Solana. A huge Solana whale had a position. It was something like 300 million worth of Solana, and had borrowed an enormous amount of USDC against the Solana, right? At risk of the Solana value collapsing, right? The Solend DAO issued a proposal which asked people to vote on whether or not they should take control of the wallet, right? To me, that is the largest failure of the DAO system. That pushes back DAO development, further than we can possibly estimate.
It's worse than Celsius, it's worse than 3 Arrows.
Right. Because the power of DeFi, as the DeFi Association co-founder, you would know, the power of DeFi is I have control of my assets, right? And custody rests with me in DeFi, right? That's the power of a decentralized financial system. Solend broke that. They broke that for a lot of people. So how do we restore faith in a DAO governance system?
Just because I need to be the other side, I fully agree with the fact that event is an extremely scary event in terms of the progression of DAOs. Simply because we have a specific ideology in reality. Like, I don't see myself as an ideological person, but I have to agree that it is an ideology in terms of where I would want DAOs to go, right? And I did not foresee people making that choice, because it kind of went against what those same people complain about in terms of what CeFi or TradFi does, right? Now,
I'll just add a bit of color. People as a group didn't really make that choice, because a DAO is based on token holdings rather than individual users, right? So a single user held about 60% of the vote in that proposal, and they voted yes, you should take control of the wallet. So therein lies the issue, right? It's not a voice of the people, it's still a voice of the elite, which emulates, traditional finance. That's what I meant was the failing of the DAO.
Yeah, you know what? I would argue that it's not a failing in DAOs, it's a failing in democracy. And from my point of view, a failing of a DAO in this case would be due to two reasons. One of them is that the community doesn't hold true to its purpose, or that the purpose cannot be achieved due to errors in the technology.
Right? That is the key. So I believe
Yeah.
point 2 that you just covered is the real core of the issue here.
Yeah.
Our technology hasn't caught up
No.
to the desires of us as users, right?
Yeah.
So do you think it should be 1 vote per user or 1 vote per token?
Look, I do not believe that it should be 1 vote per token. And I've seen some really great work in terms of how you define governance. It's like this massive Monte Carlo engine where you can just test a bunch of different rules and see the outcome without having that political stigma on it, right? But tokens, in my mind, a vote should not only be cast on the basis of you owning the token, but also on the basis of how you are willing to stake it, right? So the longer you stake that token, the more weight you
Increases your
have,
vote.
exactly, right?
Absolutely.
But again, I don't think that there is a one-size-fits-all for all purposes, right? Because when you go out and you set up a DAO, what you're doing is that you're defining that purpose, and you're defining the community, and you're defining who are the different dynamics or individuals within that community, and the tokenomics of the DAO are effectively deciding how you incentivize people to achieve that purpose, right? And
Which is supposed to be the purpose that you believe in by investing in the DAO,
True,
right?
true. But in terms of Solon and that scenario, people that bought into that would have known that token holders that have a very high number of tokens can actually make the choice.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's almost like the Celsius thing. People get into that, and because they don't educate themselves properly, they believe that they can take out money whenever they want. It doesn't happen that way. USDC. So USDT is one thing, right? And that's
Yeah.
a scary one.
Yeah, let's put that in the scary
Yeah.
basket.
USDC, I cannot confirm this, but I have read comments, I haven't looked into it in detail, that they can actually blacklist, so effectively control transactions from specific wallets.
Right. I can shed some light.
Yeah.
So, same with virtually any token. It is possible to blacklist a wallet
Yeah.
from transferring a particular token, USDT,
Yeah.
C,
Yeah.
DAI, whatever. It is possible.
Yeah.
The core of the issue lies with governance again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So USDC, Circle, the issuer,
Yeah.
is a massive enterprise.
Yeah.
In a previous life, we had some meetings with really senior leaders there,
Yeah.
and I know that their intentions are good. They're very regularly audited, which puts them sort of outside any other stablecoin issuer. The issue lies with who makes the decision,
Yeah.
right? Because something that is bad in your eyes might
Yeah.
not be bad in mine. And we are both at the mercy of what Circle thinks.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's a productive way to do it.
Well, I think that the problem is that Circle is a regulated entity and needs to be a regulated entity, and therefore, because of regulation, they need to be able to have control over who holds what, right? But the point that I was making initially is that if you buy USDC, you should know that however small the probability, your wallet could be blocked. Right?
True.
And people don't really think about that. So that's the thing with blockchain and Web3 is that it's all transparent, but how does that help if you don't understand what it means? It's like algorithmic stablecoins, right? Stable-ish.
I don't think we can say algorithmic and stable in the same sentence. Yeah.
But look, I was in derivatives for a number of years, banks. And even I didn't put money into it, but not because I automatically saw this is stupid.
We're talking UST, right?
No, yes, correct,
Yeah.
UST. I just thought, I don't really get it, right? And then because I've been in that space, I say, well, if I don't get it, then I would just not put money into it. But it was so easy to think that, oh, it's crypto, it works differently. It doesn't, right? Education and information is still key, and you just need to dig into all these different things.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's the Wild West.
Yeah.
We're still outside regulation.
Yeah.
So no one's going to hold your hand. No one's going to tell you, yes, this is a good decision. No, this is a bad decision.
Yeah.
It does come down to user research. The UST collapse who's very close to me because we had funds there.
Yeah.
And we actually exited about 48 hours before.
Nice.
So the writing was on the wall for about 14 days. And I don't know if you remember, but Do Kwon himself had to top up the anchor reserve by $500 million just to keep the platform solvent, right? And imagine that in a traditional finance landscape. Imagine we're investing in a company that is giving us a 5% return, 10% return, whatever it is, and then we hear that the Commonwealth Bank of Australia has to put in $500 million to ensure that they can keep paying that return. The first thing you think is, well, the return's not sustainable, right? That's the first thing you think is, well, they need help paying the return, so clearly they're not making the money. But a lot of crypto investors
It's tokenomics.
That nexus doesn't appear for people, and you end up with people making catastrophic losses, right? Which is, look, it's very, very sad. We need to be comfortable saying buyer beware. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you are expecting an 18 or 19% yield on your USD, right? Don't expect to go into it and just go, well, all fairies and rainbows. I'm just going to make some free money today.
What is liquidity? It's funny. The thing with algorithms is that an algorithmic anything in terms of finance means that you're effectively relying on an action to achieve a purpose. And every time you execute an action, you need to have liquidity to execute that action. Right? So for USD to
either a buyer or a seller, right?
So for USD to have worked, you needed to have that infinite liquidity, which obviously did not exist, right? But liquidity
Wait a second, you're telling me
you can't just print
that infinite money does not exist?
It's not USD, it's UST.
Oh, sorry, my mistake. It is crazy. It is crazy.
Bottom line, risk is risk, right? You get paid for taking risk, and if you don't know why you're getting paid, then you maybe shouldn't get into it, or have a limited amount of risk so that it doesn't hurt too much, right? I mean, the whole idea of being able to take staked ETH and then take back ETH, stake it back, and do the whole thing. It sounds ridiculous. I honestly think that it's quite beautiful. Like it's financial engineering at its best, because you would not see that in traditional banks, and we tried.
Well, look, I like to think the banks were doing this years ago. And we are like a concentrated microcosm of all the mistakes finance have made throughout history.
But faster.
But much faster.
And more aggressive.
We're catching up, making the mistakes daily, where it took them years to do it, right? The liquid staking comment you make is a very interesting one. I'm actually a believer in liquid staking. When the arbitrage is obvious and instant. So what that means is, say on Polygon Network, you're able to stake your Polygon and receive a staked token right back, and then you can take that into DeFi. I believe in that because all I have to do is wait 21 days to unstake my Polygon, right? That's my maximum loss, is time. So if the token I'm holding goes to zero, it still represents my staked Matic. So I can then unstake, take my 21 days, and take my staked Matic out. That is a key to liquid staking. Staked ETH has a perpetual timeline. So we don't know when Ethereum 2.0 is coming. Hell, the Ethereum Foundation doesn't even know. So nobody knows. It's safe to say,
and it's understandable why, and it's clear why.
Absolutely. There's no shade. It's safe to say, literally, no human alive knows when Ethereum 2.0 is coming. So to offer a liquid staking token, right? What is that worth? It could be.
How do you discount that?
Right? It could be, for argument's sake, a perpetual token. Something that is worth the represented token in the future. right? So how do we peg the value?
Yeah.
The arbitrage doesn't exist, right? So when staked ETH falls from peg, we can't arbitrage that back to one-to-one because you can't withdraw the underlying asset.
Yeah.
So liquid staking on proof of stake networks, firm believer. The arbitrage is immediate and apparent. Liquid staking on any other consensus method, proof of useful work, or networks migrating to proof of stake, not a good idea.
And the reason for that is the maturity aspect, right? The maturity is native in the proof of stake.
You know that the unbonding period is a fixed amount of time, right? It might be 1,000 blocks or whatever it is, right? Whereas a asset that has no proof of stake consensus method, it's like a futures contract, right? It's perpetual. You don't know.
Without margining.
Well, who knows? People probably margining staked ETH. You're like, let's face it. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Love talking
Pleasure.
to you. Could talk all night. Thank you.
So, well, before you go, hey, web link to DeFi
Yes.
in the description below.
Yes.
You tell me later. I'll put it in the description.
I will do that.
LinkedIn link to James, our Fishburner alumni, and apparently he is flying under the radar at the moment, so I'm not allowed to talk about his business. Actually, I want to talk to you about your business. but anyway, let's go to our sponsor message, and we will come back with our sponsor of today, National Stock Exchange of Australia, Chan. Sponsor message now.
Thank you for all the people that are watching online. I believe we have people from England, Israel, the US.
Okay, my name is Alex. I'm the founder of Trim.
First-hand dramatic impact of climate change.
We will send a read-only copy.
Please jump on here, send us.
Welcome back to Fishburner Live, and now we just had James and from DeFi. I forgot his name already because it's so noisy here. I can hardly hear anything. But we got the man in the room, not man, but man, the man in the room. Chan from NSXA. You see that name at the top? Yep, NSXA. Yeah, thank you so much for sponsoring Pitch Night, and thank you so much for coming to Fishburner so regularly.
Oh, no problem at all. No, it's been fantastic. I just can't believe the I think just the crowd, the buzz, the energy, everything is great.
Yep, good to know. What do you think about why Web3? You picked the theme of this Pitch Night, did you?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, I think Web3. I mean, I will just say, by the way, I'm not a technician.
Into the mic.
I'm not a technician, so I will just give that caveat straight away.
Yep.
But I think Web3, it is the future. I mean, Web3, in terms of the digital ledger technology and having that web layer, you know, on top of that.
Yep.
And hearing those pitches, and I mean, I've actually just spoken to some of the founders after those pitches, socially. And it's just amazing, just the stories, and I think just the ideas.
Indeed.
And you can actually see that, you know, it is the way to go.
Yep. It was Bounty. They won the crowd favorite as well as the judges' favorite. Chan was our judges tonight on the panel. For those of you who missed the video live stream, go to Fishburners Founders Hub and find the video, and you will watch it before it's gone in the public space. But of course, you can always watch it in our members area. But Chan, why Bounty stood out for you and other judges?
Look, I think it was a very simple problem that they were solving. You know, and I'm
that's
not
interesting.
Well, I'm not a an expert in gaming, right? But I think what was explained was a cost involved in actually getting these things commercialized, and all the testing that has to happen.
Game pre-launch, game early stage testing.
Exactly.
And early stage community building of a new game Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, and what better way to make sure something is, unbreakable than getting
That's
the
right.
users to do the testing.
To do the testing
And getting rewarded.
Develop loyalty to
Absolutely.
a new brand or new genre.
Yeah, exactly, and
That's
getting
right.
rewarded.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
because
right.
a lot of people, would do that anyway because they're just, as you say, they're loyal to that,
Yeah.
the game,
That's
the
fantastic.
content.
Besides, was there a big conversation between the judges about was it Bounty stood out so well or compared to other pitching?
No, look, it was close.
It was close,
I'm trying to think of the other two now, the names of them. But the one certainly with
Gift Tree?
Gift Tree was number 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's very good.
Gift
Yep.
Tree was number 3. Number
And
2.
there were a couple of art piece or photography.
That's the one. Yeah, the
Photography
indigenous-
traceable.
Yeah, the indigenous the
Walking
indigenous
between
community.
the line.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
the one.
that's
Walking.
right.
I was remember thinking walking.
Walking
but
between the line.
that was
between worlds. Sorry, walking between the worlds.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. So that was number 2. So it was pretty close.
Yes, that's right.
And it was unfortunate in one sense that
Yeah.
they got both awards.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the way it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was what the judges thought.
Yeah.
That's what the community thought.
I think I can concur with the judges. That make a whole lot of sense. It's true because I personally very conservative. I don't like zero-sum games, so that means just basic crypto trading for the sake of trading, speculative market. I don't think it makes sense. But today I see some really active use of crypto technology for real, genuine, really value-adding commercial activity, which make a whole lot of sense.
Absolutely.
How does it? How is crypto or Web3 be part of NSXA?
Yeah, so good question, right? So I mean, I think crypto in itself is probably in its own universe in
That's
one
right,
sense,
yeah.
right? But the underlying technology around
Yeah.
digital ledger technology.
Yep, that's right.
So we're looking, and some of your users, some of the people listening would probably be aware that ASX is trying to replace their chess system, which is a 25, 30-year-old system
Yep.
with a digital ledger technology-based system.
Yep.
Now, we have to use chess at the moment
Yep.
because the way the market is structured, they're the
Yep.
only regulated
Yep.
operator of
Yep.
a clearing and settlement
Yep.
facility. So we're actually looking at building our own, and we're building our own, which is actually called ClearPay. That's the name for it.
Is it a secret,
It's
confidential
not a,
thing?
it's not a secret.
It's
It's not a secret, but we're just behind the scenes actually just getting it done.
Very good.
We're not trying to
Also using smart contract,
using
crypto
smart
technology.
contracts,
Yeah.
using blockchain technology.
Good to know.
On the back of that. So I
to
think,
know.
one of the other things that we'll be looking at doing is having that Web3 layer on top of that in terms of what we want to do.
Fantastic.
So I need to be a little bit careful about what I say because we're a publicly listed company.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. And thank you for sponsoring Fishburner in lots of events already. And thank you for coming tonight. Why NSXA networking with Fishburner?
Well, another great question. But no, look, I think it's pretty simple, really, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think, from our perspective, I did a bit of a pitch earlier on today,
that's
and
right.
I think what I was trying to allude there is that the size of the companies on our market, they're on average about 50 million.
Okay.
Right, in terms of the size of the companies.
So it's actually tend to be SME.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's micro cap, small cap,
Small cap, micro
in
cap.
capital markets terminology, right? But the ASX, the average market cap of companies on the ASX is 1.3 billion, right? So there's a big difference. Now, with all due respect to the companies, in the startup phase as they get into scale up, they're not going to get to that, that level for a while.
Yeah.
And our view is that we're a good platform.
Yeah.
So when those companies decide that they want to go public, they want to get listed,
Yeah.
that they should list on NSX.
Yep.
And then look, at the end of the day, we're regulated the same way as ASX
Yep.
by ASIC.
Yeah.
We have the whole market structure is the same.
Yeah.
And that's why from my perspective, I love the buzz of being here at Fishburners, and
good. Thank you.
and it would be great to to have a company coming to us.
I love to hear that and see that one of our Fishburner alumni or members through this informal connection, and then one day go through your funnel and become listed.
Absolutely, and what better place to have a bell ringing ceremony than here? Let's
make a big bell, a digital bell on the wall. Yes,
absolutely.
That's right. Yes.
No, that would be awesome.
So obviously, throughout the whole building of Sydney Startup Hub, we have really early stage like Fishburner, mainly demographic for company, for founders, which is more early. The first 24 months, we call it the first 24 months from idea to MVP is where they find the most friends at Fishburner. Tankstream and Stone and Chop upstairs have normally tend to be a little bit later stage, 24 to 60 months kind of stage on the scale up side or and they also have a bias focus to, not bias, but leaning towards fintech as well as property tech, that kind of business. So how's your networking with all the floors?
Yeah, look, that probably not good. It will be
not
the honest.
Yet.
Not
yet.
Good at the moment.
All right.
Is the honest answer.
Okay.
But we would love to.
So anyone from Tankstream or Fishburner, Tankstream or Stone and Chop, if you happen to come across this video, reach out to Chan. I am sure NSXA would love to network with you guys at Lunch and Learn. And
Absolutely.
I can promise you personally, I have reasonable contact with every floors. I love to introduce your good work to the whole community of Sydney Startup Hub. How about that?
I would take you up on that. That would be great.
Yes,
that'd be fantastic.
We'll do that. Okay, you are in corporate world. One thing I have noticed when I was younger in corporate world, I did not went into venture investment or angel investment at all. All my pocket money gone to private school for the kids, ski holiday, or
for yourself?
for myself, for the whole family, and then I ate it all. So I completely missed the window of angel investment. But if you were investing in maybe a listed company within your portfolio, NSXA, or maybe potentially an angel investment, $10,000 into a syndicate to do something. If you have $10,000 about to invest in a seed round of an early stage startup, what would you look for?
Now that's a very good and very open question. I will just say as a caveat, again, I'm not a financial advisor.
No financial advice here. It is just
purely opinion.
Over 2 beers with the NSXA logo in front of it. Sorry, the camera is too far where you can't see it. But thanks to NSXA sponsor, we have a plant-based plastics, biodegradable plant-based plastic cup with NSXA logo on it.
Absolutely, and look, and there's a T-shirt for you, right?
I was actually looking at it. That's mine.
That's for you. You can have that.
Thank you, Chan. Okay,
right, no
come
problem.
back to the question.
Yes. Okay.
What do you think is a startup worth investing your own personal $10,000?
Look, I think at the end of the day, it is very simple, really, and I think it really comes down to the pitch, the 90-second pitch, I should say, that basically Fishburners proposes, which is what is the problem? So, what problem is somebody trying to solve? And when you're looking at the solution,
keep going.
Okay, we're going to be quick.
We still have one light on.
But I think it comes down to what is the traction that you're going to make, and what is the path that you're going to take.
Okay.
Right. So I think the key.
Talk into the mic.
Sorry. I think the key thing is, at the end of the day, when you're going to go to market, let's assume the solution's going to work.
That's right.
You know, let's assume these are all smart people, right? They're probably smarter than you and
I think so.
So I think they'll make it work.
Yes.
But the success is going to be around,
market validation.
The market validation.
Yes.
And the actual marketing itself, right?
Track
As in how are they going to actually get their customer base to make revenue?
That's right.
And I think that's why I think a lot of the questions that I ask, because I'm not as I say, technologists like these smarter, even the other two judges, right? They're in this space.
Yes, that's right.
I mean, my questions have always been around, well, who's your customers?
Yes.
What's your customer and what is your market?
What's our business model?
What is
What's
your
our
target
revenue model?
segment?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes,
right.
that's right.
So what I would be looking at is that,
Yeah.
and looking at the answers that I get for that.
Very good.
In terms
Very
of
good. But for NSXA, market traction and revenue is not a criteria, is it? Is that a criteria?
No. So the criteria, I think the fundamental difference between ourselves, right, and ASX in one sense, is that ASX has profit and asset tests. Okay, for companies.
That's right.
We don't. What we need is to have a track record. So track record is generally 3 years of audited financials.
Okay.
Right? Or 2 years. Right,
Yeah.
of financials that have been audited. Because that shows us that the company is stable and they've got a little bit of professional discipline in place around the accounting
side. The management capability, bookkeeping, discipline.
So when we look at the track record, we look at the founders. What is their track record?
That's right.
Right, as founders. And we look at the financials. So 2 years of financials, 3 years is preferred. That's what we look at. So we're not here to judge the success of the company. More about
sometimes early stage venture business do have certain scalability hurdle that is not yet known in their capital raising stage.
Absolutely. And so what we can say, the other thing with us is if they list on our market, and for example, they might make all of these statements about their intentions. Or stage 2 is this, stage 3 is this, and we're going to get there in 6 months, 9 months. So what we will say to them is a conditional view listing is you need to give the market an update.
A prospectus or an update.
Just an update. Just to say, if you say that in 3 months you're going to do that, well, we want you to give an update in 3 months to prove, to ensure that you're on track.
Demonstrate certain progress and towards those targets.
So that you are exactly staying on course with those milestones.
Very good.
Very
good. So, of course, we have to talk about the big elephant. So why? You mentioned about the hurdle, the one-size-fits-all situation of ASX and things like that. For tech startup ecosystem, what are the key things they need to look at choosing between you two?
Okay, look, and I'm going to be quite honest about this in the sense of where we're at, right? So I'm not going to sugarcoat things for the sake of promoting ourselves, right? But look, the challenges that we have are that because we're dealing with a monopoly exchange that's been in place for a long time, right? So they have a lot of the market participants. The broker network that they have is a lot bigger than ours. So one of the challenges for us is to get more brokers on board. Right?
That's right.
And so that's one thing that we're working on. Okay, but it is a little bit of a chicken and the egg, right? Because the more companies you get, then the more the brokers, because the brokers have clients like you and I, and you say to your broker, well, why can't I buy that NSX stock?
NSXA listing stock.
Exactly. Right. And then, if you've got enough people asking that question, then the broker says, well, I better join. Because otherwise these investors are going to go to another broker that's already a member of NSX.
Indeed.
Right. So it's a bit of a chicken and the egg scenario. So that's a fundamental difference.
Let's champion for your broker. Any audience out there who want to discover a broker and download the app and do some exploration, which broker you recommend them to download the app now to explore and see the listing of NSXA?
I'm not going to recommend. I cannot recommend a broker. But what I can say is, please go to our website. nsx.com.au. We've got a list of all our current brokers.
NSXA or NSX?
nsx.com.au.
Okay.
And we've got a list of brokers there. Okay, and we've also got a list of our nominated advisors. Okay,
fantastic.
Now they're very important. Because they will help those companies walk through the listing process. Okay, and those nominated advisors are generally accountants and lawyers. So you need them anyway. So go and have a look at our nominated advisor list. There's about 27 of them.
Fantastic. And then after with the advisor, then we'll go through your listing manager.
Absolutely.
And
so
she
Christina
is-
was here.
She is somewhere out there.
She's over there somewhere. But
She is somewhere out there
she is.
drinking.
Well, I hope not.
No, she's networking.
She's networking.
with
She's
the,
networking.
with the community at the moment.
Absolutely. So Christina is head of our admissions area.
That's fantastic.
So she will work with those companies
Yeah.
all the way through that process
Yeah.
and their advisors.
Yeah.
And we'll go through. The first thing we do is we look at a suitability for listing.
Excellent.
You know, so we what we do is we work with those companies through that, right? So I like to say we don't reject companies.
Yeah.
We just tell them they're not ready
Help
because
them go through
Yeah.
their growth stage.
correct.
Yeah,
We say
that's
to
right.
them, you're not ready because guess what? You haven't got audited. You know, you haven't got audited accounts. Right,
Yeah.
so go and do that first.
Yeah.
Or you need to demonstrate track record, or you need to make sure you've met that first milestone that you've
That's
been
right.
talking about.
That's right.
So-
And obviously, the lights
lights are
telling
out.
me that
Lights out, Alice.
the two headlights are telling me, or key lights are actually telling us
We gotta go.
We got to go.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Chen, for coming to Fishburner,
No
and thank you
problem.
for talking to us impromptu.
Thank you for hosting, and look, it's
the
been enjoyable.
link to nsx.com.au is in the description below, and follow
Absolutely.
them on social media and on them on LinkedIn. I guess your main
Absolutely.
social channel is LinkedIn.
LinkedIn,
right?
yeah, LinkedIn.
that's
We're going to
right.
beef that up a little bit more, but that's the general. That's where to go to get
Thank
more
you.
info.
Thank
No
you.
problem.
Good to have you.
All right.
See you.
Bye. Thank you.